Hello and welcome to Sunday Edition. This week from the Spanish city of Barcelona, where Tony Blair and other European leaders have spent the last couple of days thrashing out policies that'll have a profound effect on life in the West Country. The Barcelona summit has agreed that Europe must get bigger. At least another 10 countries are to join the European Union. So Peter Hain, one thing that's obviously very much on the minds of West Country farmers is agriculture reform, also fisheries reform. That doesn't really seem to have figured much on the agenda this weekend. Why not?
It's not been on the agenda this weekend, but it is on the continual agenda of the European Union's business, because we need reform of the common agricultural policy. It's simply not working for the farmers of England any more than the farmers of Europe.
A decade ago, most of these premature babies almost certainly wouldn't have survived. Today, advances in technology and the efforts of medical staff at Derriford Hospital's neonatal intensive care unit mean even the smallest children have a fighting chance of life.
I've reached that time in life where the teeth grow ever longer, the hair on your head starts to recede, and the hair in your nostrils and in your ear holes starts to grow ever more luxuriant. But they haven't pensioned me off just yet. And over the next 3 weeks, I'll be here looking at what it's like to grow old and how the West Country is going to cope with an increasingly elderly population.
If you're lucky enough to have a perfect set of pearly whites and a film star smile as wide as the Grand Canyon, you probably aren't worried about finding a dentist. But most of us are likely to need a filling or two at some stage or another, and if you can't afford private dental treatment, the choices are becoming limited. Across Devon, Cornwall, Somerset and Dorset, there are now very few dentists who are prepared to treat NHS patients. Thousands of people have had letters telling them they're no longer registered with a dentist. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Graham, as the Morwenstow base seems to be an outpost of America's National Security Agency, can we expect it to figure in the investigation into the intelligence failures on September the 11th?
We can indeed expect it to figure. Indeed, it's figured already. There was a preliminary inquiry to find out whether the engineers and technicians and radio operators and computer people here had done all the things they were asked to do, and that preliminary inquiry has already cleared them.
Welcome to Sunday Edition, and welcome to Glastonbury, where this week we prove current affairs really is the new rock and roll. This week, 45 minutes of sex and drugs and rock and roll, thinly disguised as news and current affairs. In a minute, we'll have the latest headlines from Emma Fry in the studios in Plymouth. And after that, we really get under the skin of this massive cultural event, the biggest and longest established of its kind in Europe. What does it tell us about who we are and what kind of West Country we think we're living in? Well, I'm joined now by another great singer, it's Beverly Knight.
Hi.
Hello, Beverly. Hi. Now, when did you first get your start in singing?
Professionally, it was when I was 19, singing at home in Wolverhampton in a club. I basically got spotted, you know, the traditional way, and signed a deal when I was 21. But when I was a kid, you know, I was singing since the age of about 4 with my mum in church and that, so.
Joining me now is former Labour Cabinet Minister Tony Benn, here to speak at the left field at Glastonbury. Tony, what have you come here to say?
Well, I heard that they were organising a left field, and there are, over 100,000 people here, and we need a bit of help. There are pensioners can't live on the money, students having to pay fees, asylum seekers being harassed, the environment being threatened, possibility of a nuclear war. We need all the energy of these people on that. That's why I'm here.
Hello and welcome to a new series of West Country Sunday Edition. This week coming to you from the South African city of Johannesburg, where 100 world leaders are gathering at the World Summit on Sustainable Development to discuss a subject which should be close to all our hearts, saving the planet. Reaction to the summit in Joburg itself is mixed. Local street traders angry about having their pitches taken away for a fortnight, were one of the 14 official demonstrations escorted up to the security fences for their brief spell in the limelight. NGOs are angry about being excluded from the demonstrations, and the notable absence of US President George Bush means some feel the summit is ultimately doomed to failure.
And our health correspondent David George joins us now in the studio. Great initiative there for Mr. Brooker. Any reason why more of us shouldn't do the same thing?
No, there's absolutely no reason why, if you can afford it, you can't choose to have any operation you like, any way you like, and that includes, of course, going abroad as Mr. Brooker did. No reason at all.
I mean, he only paid 20 quid. I mean, why doesn't the NHS then send people over there?
Well, interestingly, the NHS is starting to actually send people abroad for operations. At the moment, there's a pilot scheme running, and patients, about 200 patients so far from some NHS trusts in the southeast of the country, have been going over to France and Germany for operations, generally fairly simple operations of relatively low complication rates, hernias, joint replacements, things like that. They have actually been going, and the scheme is likely to be extended. European scientists spending the holiday period nervously downing mince pies and sherry will be hoping Beagle 2 fares better than its Japanese counterpart Nozomi, which should have reached Mars last week, but has had to be left in orbit around the Sun after it ran out of fuel. Dust storms on the Martian surface might also threaten Beagle 2's mission. But all being well, as we tuck into our Christmas turkey, a little bit of the English Riviera will land on Mars.
Well, with us at the Mason's Arms is David George. Nice to see you, David. When are we going to know whether this project is actually going to work, or it's up there in a ball of flames, even as we speak?
Well, we should know. In fact, about now, it should be sending back a signal to say it's been successfully released. And that's the kind of first phase. Then we've got to wait another 6 days till Christmas Day for it to actually land on Mars. And hopefully the parachute and the airbags will work and it will get there in one piece. Here's hoping.
Yeah, well, I think my mind might be on other things on Christmas Day. But